Hey everybody, it's Gypsy. Um, Today I'm going to talk about, well, death and grief and what it means to me in my belief system. The reason I picked now is because, as many of you know, my older son, John, died at the age of 26 on May 11th, 2014. So this is a very difficult time of the year for me. And I thought it'd be a good time to talk about it. Um, I think because who I am and my life experiences, as they say these days, I don't see how an experience cannot be a life experience, but anyways, um, I think I view grief and, you know, dying, death, differently than most people. As I've said, I am not afraid of my own death. And I think it would benefit, well, everybody to feel that way. When my time comes, I, I'm ready. I don't, I don't know when it is, but I'm not afraid of me dying. I am afraid of getting old. I will say that because what I have seen people I love go through as they age, it's difficult. What I'm watching my mother go through now, I'm afraid of that happening. I don't want that for me. So it's getting old. The actual dying part doesn't bother me. Um, and the reason for this is because of my belief system. Not only do I believe there is an afterlife and we're eternal beings, I know it because, well, since I was born, my experiences has been having contact with those who have crossed over before me, who have died. For instance, today my sister spoke to me. We were texting about a situation, a family situation she's having in her family. And as we were talking, I heard my father. Now, my father died when he was 58. I'm going to be 59 this year. That's a weird feeling. Yeah, I do. I always tell my dad, I'm older than you are now. But anyways, as we were talking about this, my father, he came in with advice for my sister. So things like that can and do happen, whether you realize it or not. It happens to all of us. Most people who don't realize it, it comes in as a very sudden thought out of nowhere. Especially if you're not even thinking about something and this thought comes in from, and you're like, whoa, where'd that come? It was the spirit telling you something. But anyways, that's been my experience. So I know there's an afterlife. Um, and I have to say, obviously, that's what's helped me get by over these last 9 years, because I can't believe it's going to be 9 years on the 11th. Very, it's a very surreal feeling. I remember when it happened, I was thinking, how am I going to survive being a grieving mother? How many years do I have to do this? I didn't want to do it for very long, you know. But I'm doing quite well. I have lived quite the adventure since then. As many of you know, I was a nomad. I don't know now after my accident what my future holds, what's going to happen. I hope I could get back on the road at some point, but we'll see with how my knee heals and what I'm capable of doing. Anyways, so I'm not afraid of death. To me, there is no true death where, if you think of death as an ending, it is not. The only thing that dies is your physical body. You do not. Um, Now, we've talked about spiritual memory before, where it's not really a memory like you have of this current life. It's more of a very strong feeling, a strong knowing. And one thing I know, I prefer to be formless and free, floating around. In other words, I prefer not to have a body, but I do this for other reasons. So for me, it'll be a sense of freedom when I go, whenever that may be. So many people, but you're too young. Well, nobody's too young. It all depends on what type of life, when your exit point was planned. Now, I have lost two babies while pregnant. My adult son at the age of 26. I lost friends as teenagers. I have lost friends in my early 50s. I lost two cousins. I'm the oldest of 17. And this was years ago, so we were all quite young. So what I know, and my dad was 58 when he died. What I know is there is no set age, okay? Based on the average lifespan, I don't know, 16 to 26 years, I suppose. Could be longer, could be shorter. I don't know. I'm going to make the most of it while I'm here. In the meantime, I won't be afraid of death, because any type of fear that we have, especially of death, they can use it to control us. And I'm not afraid of my own. I don't like people leaving before me. Even though I have a strong awareness of an afterlife, I still grieve. Life is different afterwards. It changes things. You can still have a relationship with that person, but it's different. For instance, my son comes to see me. I no longer ask him, "Can I fix you something, honey? Are you hungry?" Because no, he's not hungry, and I cannot fix him something. It's not the same. So I do grieve. But I guess maybe it's different for me. And I told you I worked for a cemetery. In fact, it was right after my dad died, and I worked in the cemetery that he was interred at. And I actually enjoyed that. I used to schedule and plan the interments, help the families with that. Um, and then I worked for hospice. I do kind of have this, I don't know if I'd want to call it an obsession with death, but I feel one of the reasons I incarnate, one of the purposes in my life, is to help people not be so afraid of death, and to know that their loved ones, they still exist. And I am not doing it in such a way as people, encouraging people to take an early out. Um, One, I'm not sure if that's possible. And I don't really want to get into that, but it's not something I would want to encourage, because if you do take an early out, you may end up regretting it. Not that something horrible is going to happen to you afterwards, because it doesn't, but you will have regrets about maybe what you had planned to do in this life and you did not finish. Maybe you might have regrets not making it to the point, to your exit point. The exit point is what I call a death date. Now, that being said, we talked about my spiritual path and what I believe. Um, what I believe is different than most. I told you yesterday, I believe we are eternal beings to the extent that we exist before we're born. Now, I told you I'm going to be a grandmother in a few years. I think more like few, somewhere between me being, I don't know, 62 to 64. That's about right. Yeah, somewhere around there. And I have met my grandchild before she's born. Definitely, yeah. We do have a relationship. Now, it's not going to be the same as when she gets here, because, when we're born, we don't remember before we were born. Anyways, I believe that we exist and we plan our lives. Now, when my grandchild got to the point where she had the majority of her life planned, she said to my son John, Uncle Johnny, "Can you introduce me and Grandma so we could get to know each other?" And that's how that happened. It's unusual, but it can and it does happen. So we do plan that. We plan when we're born. For instance, I know very strongly my birthday is very important to me. For some reason, the numbers hold a lot of strength for me. They feel strong, and I feel I picked that day and that moment to be born. We do that, but we also plan our exit points. Now, we pick a few exit points, more than one. Because if we get to the first one and maybe we're not satisfied with something, maybe we might have some unfinished business, etc., we can choose to stay longer. I feel this is what happened with my mother. Because, like I said, I think I told you guys several years ago, I was given a message from the spirit realm. There's a strong possibility for a brownout in the eastern part of the country again. And I needed to make my brother aware of it so that we could, make sure my mother was taken care of during this brownout. But we were also told that our mother may choose to, cross over during this brownout. Well, the brownout ended up not happening. If you want to know the story, I can't remember which video I put that in. Anyways, is mass consensus. We changed that. And it was caught before it happened. Somebody had put a bug in the system to try and bring down our grid. I don't know. Now, I can't ask my mother this. One, she has dementia. And two, she made this decision on a spiritual level. So it's in her subconscious, but not her conscious. So it would be hard for her to answer. Whatever reason, she was right. Yeah, my dad's saying she felt the family was going to fall apart if she had left at that time. Well, it doesn't matter because it's kind of like happening anyways, Mom, So, she chose to, skip that exit date. I don't know which one she's going to pick. I don't even know what her other ones are. But you have that option. So I do believe that we do make these plans. The spiritual dog, hi Snuggles. Remember my little dog Snuggles? Yeah, he came sit right. He died May 1st. Oh, that was yesterday. Wow. May 1st, 2021. It's been 2 years. Yeah. I have a thing for white dogs. It doesn't matter their size because, Sirius is huge. But Snuggles just came and sat next to me. You guys used to see him in the background when I did videos. And yeah, I miss my baby. That's my boy. That's my little man. Mr. Man. He's the Mr. Man. I used to sing him songs. Anyway. So I do believe that we plan that. Even Snuggles. Dogs, animals. They're the same spirits. Because we incarnate as different things. In different forms every life, on some lives. And like I said, Snuggles was a human being in our last lives. Not really a therapist, but kind of took the form of a therapist with me. Anyways, we're not going to make jokes about that. Anyways, so I do believe that we make these plans. So my belief system does help me with my grief because I feel, one, there's no such thing as an illegitimate child. No, there is no child that is an accident when they're born because it's planned. Now, my two babies that I lost, they came in for a moment. Not really came in because I was pregnant. There was some kind of lesson which I can't figure out for me and their father. Anyways, and that was their purpose. Now, my rainbow baby Christian, he had planned to come in. When he did, I wish another date because that personality kind of, I'm so outnumbered. Because, I'm Scorpio. I have it on my chart like 4 places. His dad is Taurus. His birthday's next week. And my son is right on the cusp. Well, he was born on April 21st, so he's Taurus, but he's got a lot of Aries in there too. So I'm really, really outnumbered. They're so down to earth and everything. And there's Mom up in the clouds. And yeah, I think I'm crazy. But anyway, see, I probably am. Anyways, because of these things that we plan coming into this life and we plan going out. I don't feel there's any accidental child. Um, and even if somebody dies via an accident, they chose to die that way. Like some people choose to go out just like that quickly. Some people choose more slowly, kind of like my dad. That took 14 months after we found out he had cancer. Um, Different ways. So I don't believe any death is really an accident either. And I know that's hard for some people. And if you can't deal with that and you don't believe that, well, just believe what I said. This is what I believe. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter what you believe as long as it helps you grow spiritually, as long as it helps you along your life. I'm just talking about mine. So for me, it was easier. It's easier all around for all the losses I've had. The first loss I had in my life, I was 10. My maternal grandpa. Yes, you want me to say your name? Charlie Correo. That's my grandpa. Or if you want to pronounce it in Italian, Corrao. Anyways, we were very, very close. And he took me with him everywhere. I was there. I slept over every weekend. I was there all the time. We were always together. That that hit me hard. It did. And so much so that I couldn't get in contact with him. Because when you are hurting so badly, it blocks your awareness of other realms. So that made me really grieve. But that was my first loss, and it just kind of kept adding up because in 7 years later, my grandpap, my dad's father died. The next year, my maternal grandmother died. Then I started losing it. Well, that was in my 20s and 30s. My aunts and uncle, they all decided they were leaving in their 60s, you know? Well, Aunt Charlotte waited till she was 73. For whatever reason, my mother is like, mom's 83. Yeah, she's like 83. She lived the longest. We can't figure out why, but that was her choice, her plan. She passed up that exit point, which would have put her in her 70s, I believe. Anyways, so that does help me. These beliefs do help. And I believe them to be very true because I do have this I wanted to say ability, but I believe we all have the ability to do it if we set our mind to it. Have awareness, be in contact, whatever, with the spirit realm. So these are the things I was taught from them. So this is what I believe. It's hard for me to believe somebody who's currently incarnated, who their spiritual memory has been wiped clean. If I hear from somebody who's crossed over or somebody who's just always been there, I am more apt to believe them because it's more like first-hand knowledge for me. So the grief, it's there. It hurts. I still cry about my son 9 years later. Not as much, not as often, not as hard, not as long. And I have a, well, I'd like to say a good life. Actually, it's not too bad. Since my injury really changed things, but I'm having fun right now with my family. We're having a good time. You know, I recreated my life after my son's death. I recreated myself. I don't know if I want to say recreated. I decided that it was the last straw and I didn't care anymore. I was going to be my true self. I took off my costume, stopped being what everybody else wanted me to be, and let everybody see who I truly am, which is much different than what they thought. My younger son, he went into shock. At first he was like, Mom, I don't like this. I said, honey, this is your real mother. And now he's fine with it. He'll make fun of me and stuff. And the people next door. I think the man is about the same age as my oldest son, John, would be. And his name's John, too. And I love his mom. His mom is great. We're the same age. And he tells me, yeah, I'm the one with the crazy mom. And I went, really? I said, Christian has this crazy mom too. And he just started cracking up and nodding his head. I'm like, oh, you heard, huh? Anyways, that's what I had to do, just be myself. And then I recreated a brand new life from myself. I took off, got on the road, and lived like that for, well, quite a few years. Now I'm in a crossroads where I have to decide, well, after I heal, what do I do? That's a hard one. But those kind of things, living in the moment, the here and now, like my younger son, Christian, mentioned something to me yesterday that we could do to celebrate John's life this year. And I started crying. And I told him, I said, don't worry, honey, I'm fine. I'm back in Ohio, where you guys were raised, and everywhere I turn, there's memories of John. So it's a little harder this year, but that does not mean I'm not doing well. I am. It's just the memories, and it's different, it's just, I don't know, hard to explain. But I drive down the road and, oh, there's the stables where John took riding lessons, and there's the feed store where we bought the pregnant rabbit on Exmont, etc. All these different things. So many, his schools, everything. It's different, it was easier when I didn't live in town, But it's not to say, a mother's going to grieve for the rest of her life. It's a matter of, are you going to get on with your life and live? And I have, and I do, and I will again once this knee heals. Anyways, so I'm not afraid of my own death. Not really that I'm afraid of, well, I guess I am, because I don't like people changing form on me before I do. If I'm still physical, I want my loved ones to remain physical too. But we can't have it that way because we all have different life plans. And we all have agreed on when, not parting ways, but who's going at what point, okay? And so I don't believe there's accidental deaths, even though they appear that way. How do I word this? Many people who leave via diseases, whatever era they're incarnating in, if there is a disease that is very prevalent and that can be fatal, they can choose that disease to leave this realm. And they do have reasons that we can't possibly understand while we're in physical form. It's hard to understand, even for the person going through it. And then they die, they cross over, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, I did it. Remember why I did it? Yes, But it's different here because we lose most of our spiritual memory. So grief, I think how you grieve and the depth of your grief, one has to do with what type of relationship did you have with that person? Who was that person to you? How close were you, etc.? And two, your belief system. What do you believe? And for me, like I said, with my life experiences, my paternal grandparents, before my dad was born, lost their son, my uncle, at the age of 6 months. I guess who was lucky enough to have him as a spirit guide? Me. I'm joking. Yeah. Anyways, but he's still around. I had, especially in my childhood, I would see him a lot. When I was a kid, he would appear to me as a teenage boy a lot. And, those things happen, and they're there. Where it's all a matter of how open you choose to be, what you choose to believe, and allow yourself to experience is what it's all about. And there's no really right or wrong way. There's no, every spiritual path, every religion has a lot of points in it, things in it that are true and correct. Yet, all of them have things that are false and incorrect. So we have to remember that. but whatever helps you grow spiritually and, cope in a healthy manner with the, trials and tribulations of this life, go with that. It's not going to make or break you. Because when you cross over and you're formless, you're in spirit, it doesn't matter. You're going to see it doesn't really matter. What really matters is the here and now, the present moment. So, anyways, that's how I feel about death and grief and how I deal with it and why and etc. So I'm going to leave you with that. Blessed be and make it a joyful one.